Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
I feel fantastic, my friend. It's good to be back with you post-Mexico trip.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was great, man. Got a little tan going.
Got a little peeling going.
Yeah, I was in the sun,
Was it hot?
man. Yeah, it was hot. Gained back about 20 pounds since the fight. Back up to 189.
Oh, nice. Congratulations, by the way, on your win. This
Thank
is the
you.
first episode since that took place.
Yeah, thank you. Had a great time.
What'd you think of the experience now? Because you know, sometimes we build something up in our mind as we're working towards it. So what'd you think of the experience? Did it live up to what you thought it would be?
Yeah, and probably more. I loved it. I loved being in there. Everything felt slow motion, you know,
Yeah.
and zoned in. And I really enjoyed watching it after.
Really?
And critiquing myself, and just love martial arts, man. I already want to get back in the gym and work on some. I actually want to review it with you and Coach Ryan and kind of some things here that I can improve on. But it was a great experience.
Nice. And body held up? You felt good afterwards? No injuries?
Yeah. Mm-mm.
That's the key, man. If you can get out of there without being hurt, and I mean, you're going to be nicked up and banged up from training, but if you can get out of there without severe injuries or long-term injuries that set you back 6 months, then it's easy to get going again.
Yeah. I get beat up more at some of our team practices.
It's the way it's supposed to be. Practice should always be harder than the fights.
Yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, we have an imbalance, and that's no good.
Yeah. How about you? You just got back from a little trip.
Yeah, we did a half marathon. First time we've ever done a half marathon. So
Nice.
It was fun. You know, I'm pretty competitive, so before we went, I promised Andrea I would run at her pace. I would just stay with her. And she's like, there's no way you'll do it. Because the first person that passes us, you're going to go try to keep up. And I did it. So it was
Nice.
So that was a win for me. I feel like I stayed with her, and it was a lot of fun to share that moment with her. And, you know, 13.1 miles there's times where you want to quit, and there's times that you just got to continue to move your feet forward. So to be there with her and work, you know, because I don't coach her much. You know, like coaching you guys at the gym, we look for that breaking point all the time. We push past it, but it's different when it's your spouse.
For sure.
And to see her in that space was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Then we had Trey out there, and he just took off like a deer. He ran so far ahead because it was loops for 13.1 miles. The first time we actually came back across him after we started, he thought the race was over because it started raining. He thought everybody went in because he hadn't seen anybody in so long.
Oh. Nice.
So, yeah, it was a good time, man. It was good. It was good to get away, good to reconnect with nature a little bit. And I'll tell you, that's one thing I've learned about myself going through all the adversity recently and all the craziness is that nature a lot of times has answers for us if we'll just go out and just stop and look and listen and be undistracted for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? I mean, think about it. It's weird, right? When you think about, like, our Earth is so much older than all of us. So it's gone through diseases. It's gone through cycles, and it always heals itself and comes back, much like the human spirit, I think, can do, if we stop and realize it can do that and we let it work. You know, and for me, I've just found such peace and reflection and just understanding that things are going to be all right by just getting away from a lot of the urban, a lot of the people, and just being.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what we need more of.
I agree. Being out in nature can definitely be healing.
Yeah, and I think for you even, you know, an MMA fight, for me, the biggest thing about fighting is that it's an absolute truth. It's an absolute truth. There is no, you can't blame nobody else. It's like the rawest, most vulnerable most of us will ever be. And you get to live with it. You know, and you get to sit with it and enjoy it. And I'm not talking about if the outcome is good or bad, because I don't care about the outcomes, but I do care about the process, and I care about the reflection. And for people that listen and are part of our community that will never get in a cage and fight, I think one of the best things you can do is reconnect with nature and just sit and just look at the rawness of nature. You know, one animal eats another animal. Like, that's part of nature. That's how the world goes by. Enjoy the breezes. Look at the trees. Like, just evaluate all the stuff that's around us that is easily overlooked when we're always racing from thing to thing, and realize a lot of things we're chasing in the history of the world aren't going to matter.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's been good, man. It's been a lot of reflection for sure.
Good, man. Well, speaking on reflection, we had Mr. Kurt Richardson on, and
Ollie's hero.
yeah,
I gotta tell
guy.
you, dude, he was. You had told, you know, kind of like your fight. Like, you build something up, and you're like, I don't know, like, it was okay, but and you get there, right? Like, that vacation you always wanted, and you go and you're like, yeah, it's all right, but man, it seems so much better on the videos. He was the opposite. Like, you had told me like how good he was and how humble he was, and I was like, I don't know. Then sitting next to him, I had to remind myself of what he had accomplished, because in our conversation, that was never in the air. You know what I mean? Like, it was never pretentious about that.
Right.
So I enjoyed talking with him. He generally seems like a good dude to sit around a campfire with and share stories.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. And he has the Old Elk Distillery, so he'd probably be down for a couple whiskey drinks. They have he was telling me last time, like, a new peanut butter whiskey, and these, like,
Where's that at?
right here in Old Town.
Oh,
it's,
really?
It's like across the street from Blind Pig and Elliott's.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Down in the square.
Yeah, little restaurant distillery spot.
What's it called?
Old Elk.
Huh?
Yeah, they make their own whiskeys and stuff. But yeah, he was great. I really enjoyed, and I need to go back and listen to that, because I could definitely. I'm in a very transitional period of what he was preaching, of really asking yourself, what do you want in life? Like, what is it that you really want? And for me, I'm at this time to where, for such a long time since I was a little boy, I wanted to win an MMA fight, and I had that 75 hard, completed that, by the way, on Purpose Community on my 4th attempt. Finally got that done.
First one I know of in our community has completed it.
Yeah. There's Dean from the gym, Dean Larson, had actually completed that. So shout out to Dean.
Good. Dean, you better be out there listening still.
Yeah. So that was great, and just kind of in this transitional period of that was such a focused goal of mine, training day in, day out, thinking about the fight. And then once you accomplish it, you have this high of celebrating with the family, seeing all the highlights, all of that. And then it's gone. And then it's like, okay, well, what now? Right? What's next? So I really liked how he really challenges our community in his episode to relentlessly ask yourself what it is that you truly want. And I think that ties into our episode today. Are your truths true?
Yeah, and I think that's a big theme for the current state of affairs in our country and our world right now, is a lot of things that we really thought we wanted, I think we question now. Do we really want that? Is it worth having? And it goes back to, what is it you really want? And I think a lot of your basis for what do you really want, or what are your truths? What do you believe? Mm-hmm. Because what you want kind of should tie in line to them, right? Like, your truths should be like in line with your values, which then your actions should lead to your values, which create the results you're looking for if you know what you're going after. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a great episode in such a time of uncertainty. And just general, every day seems to bring a new issue for the world, to really evaluate where we sit on things and why do we sit there. I've been doing a lot of the thinking I did, and a lot of reflect. I just finished reading Stillness is the Key. So I've been really intrigued with just like slowing everything down around me and really enjoying moments like this, and not thinking like, okay, Ollie, get to the point. Okay, great. What do you need from me? Okay, that's okay, good. I got to run to the next thing. And really, because I realize that doesn't fulfill me. It doesn't lead happiness. And if the world ends today, getting to the next thing if that's my priority, I didn't bring value to you. I didn't truly enjoy this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this moment that matters.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, okay, how do I make moments matter? And a lot of it's going back to my truths.
Mm.
Making my truth be that each moment matters, not being right in the moment.
I love that.
You know what I mean? But think about it, like even you and I, we have spent time where as busy as we are and all the stuff we both have going on, we know the On Purpose community is a priority for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
We love it.
Mm-hmm.
We love each other. We love the logo. We love doing what we do. But there's times, even when we're talking about this, which we know is so important, that we rush to get to the end because we both got to go.
Mm-hmm.
And what if the world ended and we never got to the next thing? Would we have regretted the energy we brought to the time we had? You know, and I think that goes back to, for me, just setting one of my truths is that each moment is the most important moment.
Mm.
With you, with my kids, with my wife, with my family, coaching.
Mm-hmm.
What if one of the students, that last time I talked to them at the gym, what if, God forbid, they get in a car crash going home and die?
Mm-hmm.
And that last time I ever talked to them, I ushered them out the door so I could clean the bathroom. You know what I mean? So just slowing down. So I think getting to truth will help.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you say truths, what is the definition that you have in mind?
For me, I think a truth is something that you believe strongly in and that has been like a core, like a belief, you know, like one of your core beliefs. Like, you know, we all have beliefs on politics, religion, money. Some are limiting beliefs. Some are great, right? The scarcity mindset towards money or the abundance mindset. Like we all have our beliefs. So I think truths are general beliefs you have that tend to guide your actions and relationships. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, if we take true inventory of our truths, let's say politics, for example, that's a big one right now. If we believe a certain political way, we tend to try to find people to align with that also believe that way, which in itself is not bad because you find community there at times. But if you do that year after year, election after election, how far away from somebody else's truths are you? How narrow has your truth focus become? Because you're only seeking people that believe the same thing you believe. Mm-hmm. And I think the best thing that I've done, because I was that person, I'm not going to lie, in my 20s, probably even in my 30s, like I believe certain things, you are not going to change my mind. You weren't going to do it. I don't care how cool you thought you were, how many books you read. Like I was just like, dude, this is what I believe. It's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And as I've gotten older, one of the things I like to do is, like, you've opened my eyes to a lot of this, and we don't always agree on things, but I learn from you is, this is what I believe. Tell me what you believe. And I want to see if our truths align, and if they don't, why do you believe what you believe? Mm-hmm. Because one of the things I'm fascinated with, Ali, is why do we think there are absolute truths? Science can have an absolute truth, right? Like math, like 2 + 2 has to be 4. There's no other way to do it.
Right.
But with humans, why are we so stuck on being absolutely true? That my true is the only true and your true has to be wrong, or vice versa. Because we're creatures of experience and thought and influence. And I think that's where we run into danger, is when we base our truths not on our own experiences, not on how people have treated us or what we've actually done, but simply based on what somebody else told us was their truth, and we don't examine it.
Yeah, and that can be a dangerous thing, to not examine and to solidify your personal truths. Right, because in reality, there's personal truths are more of an opinion, right? It's what you think, and it may not necessarily be entirely true, but you've known this thing in your truth and have solidified this framework. And especially with a lot of our systems today, I mean, we look at politics. We say that if you're a Republican, that these must be your truths, right? There's not really a middle ground in our political system, to where it's almost like we get assigned these labels and these truths because of what we as a collective have agreed that this is true. You know, we all look at something, you go outside and we all say, this is called a tree. You know, we've all collectively agreed that, okay, this is true. This is a tree. It grows leaves and it grows fruits. And we've collectively agreed that this is a truth, right? So it's solidified. And we look at things going on in the world now, history, like you said, the winners write history. We're accepting all these stories as true, but there's so much more to what happened to the losing side. Where are the stories there? All of these statues and things are being taken down. I think, I'm definitely not for, looting and stuff, but I think this is a good awakening for us to realize that we can re-know things in truth. We can reassess and re-examine things and develop essentially new truths.
Well, I think one of it is stopping for a minute and realizing that it's okay to examine your truths. Just because you've believed something your whole life doesn't necessarily mean you're right. And being wrong or having your truth not be exactly what you thought it was isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're a bad person because you believe something for a portion of your life and now you're like, let me reflect on that. And I think for me, that has been a big lesson in all this. I don't know that many of the stuff I believed is true.
Mm-hmm.
I question everything now.
That could be a scary thing, especially if you've held a belief for so long. For that to be challenged, a lot of us will deny it.
Well, not only that, and I think you're absolutely right. It's scary if your identity is solely your beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're so closed and narrow-minded that you're not willing to hear anybody else's beliefs. Mm-hmm. That can be dangerous, because if your identity is based off of what you believe, this is what I believe and there's no other way around it, and you're wrong. Right?
Yeah.
What if the book you read that said this is the way to believe and this is the only way, what if the book you read is wrong? And your whole life has been set up on this foundation, right? And I think that's why a lot of people right now are scared, is because we are reflecting on things. We're looking at history and I don't know if that was the right history. Is there more to this story? We're looking at our history as a country. We're looking at it as a community. I think we should be looking at things as individuals and asking ourselves, what is the cost of being right? What is the cost of my truth having to be the only truth? And is it worth it? Or is it okay if you and I just believe different things about something? Why do we have to be enemies? Why are so many of these things I would say are trivial in life, like politics? Kind of trivial to me. Mm-hmm. But yet certain people will not talk to others because they don't believe in the same party. And I think that's to me where our truth gets dangerous, is when we isolate ourselves based on only what we believe.
Yeah.
And you look at what we're being fed through media. It's very much divisive truth, right? They want you to identify with their truth.
For sure.
So you don't hang out with it, but you don't know if any of it's true.
Right.
You literally have no idea. But like I have a family member that only watches CNN, and she watches it all day, every day. And if CNN reports it, it's absolutely true. And if any other station doesn't report it, they're all liars.
Mm.
And I'm just like, man, to me, that's a microcosm of how a lot of people live life, is they want their truths to be the only truths.
Yeah.
The reality is we grow the best when we seek people that challenge our truths.
Mm-hmm.
I think about it as a weight loss challenge or a fitness challenge. If you go to the gym or you hire a coach and the coach says, just eat whatever you want, work out whenever you want, because that fits with your current lifestyle, well, they're reaffirming your truth, which says I can work out when I want, eat whatever I want. But you didn't grow. You literally just hired somebody to tell you what you already knew. Now, if you hire a trainer that says, no, you got to cut out sugar, you got to cut out some carbs, no more potato chips, you're going to be at the gym every day at 5:30 in the morning, well, that's a different set of truths to get you to your goal. And you got to be willing to give up what you believed, which was you could sit on the couch, binge Netflix, eat pizza, and you'd be fine. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's when we give up some of our beliefs, some of our truths to accept somebody else's that we find growth. Why do you go to higher education? In theory, right, like the universities, the colleges, the professors should be sharing a new truth to you. It may be their truth. It may be the university's truth. It may be the books that they've learned from truth. And you're showing up there with your truth, right? You already had life. You already believe certain things. But you're open to hearing somebody else's truth. And now maybe yours shifts a little bit. Mm-hmm. But as we move through life, we get rigid in our truths. We get rigid in our beliefs, and we exclude everybody else. And then we want to fight with each other. We want to go to war with each other. We want to knock each other down. We want to only live in certain neighborhoods. We want to only go to certain places because they believe our truths. What's the cost of that? You know what I mean? What are we doing to ourselves? And I think, right, what we're going through now is kind of an example of how dangerous that can become and how easy it is for us to be manipulated if we only believe in one set of truths and it has to be that way and we're not even open to hearing anybody else's opinions.
Yeah. And the scary thing is we are all truly divine beings that can manifest a world when we believe that strongly in specific personal truths. And that's why the media is so powerful. Yep. You know, they tell us there's a virus and you know, our whole world is in mass and all these things, to where at the end of the day, we really don't know that much about this virus, but we are creating a world based on the truths that we're choosing to believe. What we are saying is true about this virus. And it's everything. Same thing with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything that's happening. If we take these beliefs and believe that, you know, we can inform each other. We feel vibes, we feel energy. Yeah. You can kind of get a read on someone. If you can inform somebody of a truth that you're believing without even saying anything. If I come up to you and I say, oh, this dude's a white dude, he's a ex-cop, whatever, and I'm believing these truths in my head because of, again, your labels, your experience, I'm already informing you, and we're a lot more likely to have an experience based on what I truly believe than if I come to you with an open mind, without judgment, without, you know, ready to recreate a truth. And I love how you said how to make moments matter. And I think a way that we really make each moment matter is to be open to rediscover a truth in that moment, right? That we don't have to gauge personal history or history really of anything or anyone, and give someone an opportunity to be reborn, to redefine their truth. You know, the Jared today isn't the Jared from yesterday.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? We can have a discussion and rediscover truths. And I think that's something that's happening in our world in an abrasive way with virus and all this stuff going on, but that we're starting to question truths of our political frameworks, spirituality, the news, the media, all of these things coming to the surface that are forcing us to really search for absolute truths instead of just truths that we've been told or believe because of previous history, previous stories.
So what would you say is an absolute truth?
The great question, and I knew we were going to get there. I think that there's absolute truths are more things that you can feel and sense, right? Like let's say you're in another country, like an absolute truth. like a smile or a laugh, right? That's something that you don't have to speak the same language. Yeah. You understand that without, as a baby can smile, can laugh, can cry. That these absolute truths that you grow up with without even needing to communicate, right? You touch something that's hot, you know it's hot, you don't touch it again. There's kind of these absolute truths in the human experience that we go through that we recognize and understand and know, like, okay, that person's crying, they're feeling sadness, some of these truths. So I think there's a lot of truths in the human experience of knowing happiness, sadness, smiling, laughter, all these things. So I think there's lots of truths in the human experience, and I think that what also is true is to realize that we have divinity within us, that we are capable of recreating truth in our experience that we call life. Mm-hmm. What about you? What are some absolute truths?
I think that's good. I agree wholeheartedly. Absolute truth to me is something that we all can agree upon regardless of our own personal experience, right? Regardless of where we've grown up, what country we're in, what language we speak. And I had the same example. Like, if you touch something hot, it burns you. It's a universal truth, like touching hot things hurts.
Yeah.
Laughter, smiling, like no matter where you are, if you smile at somebody, you've broken the ice a little bit. Like, you cordial, you greeted them. They all know that somebody smiling is generally happy. So to me, that's absolute truth, right? Like, rain is going to get you wet, right? Like, those are truths. Like, nobody can deny that.
We need water to live. We need food.
Absolute truth. And I think what we struggle with at times is when we try to make our personal beliefs absolute truths.
Yeah.
With no wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
And we just stunt our growth. And life is about experiences, which means to get the most of an experience, you got to be open to accepting a new truth.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even the talk we had about vacation, like you build up a vacation in your mind. Well, why do you feel let down at the end of the vacation? Because you had built it up, and then when you got there, you weren't open to accepting a new truth. You want what the absolute truth you created, which is it has to look just like it looks on the internet. Like, everything has to be perfect, just like it is for these staged photos. And then when you get there and it's not quite that, you're not open to receiving it. So then you spend your vacation, instead of being open and enjoying it and learning, kind of pissed off that it doesn't match the internet pictures. You know what I mean? And that's why is that? Well, you just created it, and then you weren't open to exchange it. You weren't open to learn from it. Mm-hmm. And that's and that's, to me, dangerous. And that's where you look at some of our leaders, you look at people that want to continue to divide, you want to look at people that divide themselves, and what does it come down to? They're not willing to move from their truths. They're not willing to move from what they believe. Mm-hmm. And then I always got to examine, what is your foundation for that belief? Did you experience this?
Yeah.
Have you experienced this? So you haven't experienced this, so why do you believe this? Oh, because your mom and dad told you this. Okay, did your mom and dad experience it? Maybe, maybe not. Well, if they didn't experience, why do they believe it? Well, because grandma and grandpa told them. Okay, so you're literally in 2020 taking actions, not talking to people, or not doing certain activities, not moving to different parts. You're literally doing activities in your life, or not doing them, based not on what you experienced, not on what your parents experienced, but what grandma and grandpa experienced 60, 70, 80 years ago.
Right.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous and ridiculous. Some of these, like, blanket truths.
It is ridiculous when you stop to think about it, but how many people would sit and argue with you that is right. Mm-hmm. That's the only way it can be. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I really talk to my kids about is question certain things, question everything. I'm good with questioning everything that's going on, question everything in life, but then base your answers on your experience. Not what everybody else has told you is their experience.
Yeah, for sure, because that's completely redefining a truth. You know something in a completely different way when you actually go through the experience. Like, the MMA fight is a perfect example.
Sure.
I go watch my teammates. I see it on TV. I'm there. But until I actually got in the arena and I'm in the cage and I did it myself, I re-know this entire truth of what the experience of an MMA fight is.
Yep.
Because I did it. So that's a whole nother thing to where too, like some of these blanket truths that we have, all cops are bad, right? Why are all cops bad? Because I saw this on the news, because one was a dick to me when I got pulled over. Like we have these funny ways of supporting our personal truths, right? With these weak legs, these weak references to where I think I just thought of an awesome activity that my girlfriend Courtney has done before, and in our accountability group, she did it for a few weeks in a row, was to challenge a deep-rooted truth that she
Love
had
it.
at once a week, to really challenge that. And it brought up some frustration for her of things that she really tried to challenge. And I think that that's something that can be really healthy for us. One of my buddies, TJ, he challenged his belief about something ridiculous, like the flat earth stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I believe the earth is round. Really tried to challenge that belief and ask himself, well, why do I believe this? And it's a healthy thing to do around all of your belief systems, especially ones that continue to bring out emotion. Like right now, as we know, the media thrives on getting us worked up, right? So we have a lot of emotionally charged content right now, racism, viruses, all this stuff, to where we need to challenge the truths, the stories and truths that we're telling ourselves based on things that we feel a lot of emotion coming out of.
Yeah, and I think even the things that if you really look, the things that you disagree with people the most on, take one of those and challenge it. Why do I disagree with everybody on this? Why is it that I believe this? And then find people that don't believe that and have conversations. Because the reality is both of you could be wrong. What if this, Ali? What if we actually sat down and admitted that both of our truths aren't necessarily right? That the truth might be in the middle. What if we shared those ideas? And if we look, the most enlightened people aren't the ones that believed a certain thing and just believed it forever and never deviated. They're the ones that went out and challenged beliefs and learned from different people and were open to different experiences. And if we all agree that life is our experiences, but we have truths that don't allow us to move and experience anything that's not conveniently in line with our truths, how much are you missing in life?
Yeah.
How much are you missing? You know, and that's where we get divided. That's where unfortunately, we're easily manipulated, is when we're not willing to even examine our truths.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
I think a key word you said there was conveniently, right? We tend to align to truths that are convenient with our experience, and that typically, that convenience comes from community, right? Circle of five. Who's around you? What do they believe? It's more convenient to believe what your parents are telling you, right? You're going to have a lot harder time if you're always, you have teens, you've raised teens, so you know that inconvenience of when they try to disagree and not agree with that, but you start to align with your community and what to believe, and it just feels better to have a convenient truth.
But why does it feel better? Why does it feel better? Because you're absolutely right. It feels better. Like, let's just say I hate people who wear green B-nail shirts. There's a green B-nails dummy over here. So I hang out with all the people that hate green B-nail shirt dummies. Why does that feel good?
It feels good because you are aligning with someone. We all want to be accepted, right? So even if it's how you can even have bad organizations and bad groups and bad people, even if it's not a deep-rooted truth, even if you feel a little wrong about it, just because you're in that community, like gangs, right? There might be really good people, good-hearted people who are gangbangers, gang members, but because they got into this community, they want that connection, they're conveniently going to re-adopt some of their truths and beliefs just to fit in.
Okay, so there is that for sure. Societal pressure to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one. I think another big reason is because if I only hang out with people that don't like green B-nail shirts, I don't have to examine mine. I'm always right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always right, and nobody's going to challenge me to think different. It's convenient.
Right.
Because if I'm challenged to think different, now I may have to read, learn, listen, and God forbid I have to admit, Ali, I've been wrong.
Yeah.
Green B-nail shirts are awesome. Can I get one?
Yeah.
Right? Ego gets in the way.
Yeah.
Think about it, especially as we get older, right? We get away from higher education. We get away from being in the learning, from teachers mode. And now, we have careers, we have our jobs, we have our routine. We know what we're doing. We're providing for our families. We're fairly successful because we're doing all the things that we think we're supposed to do. Well, my belief system has got me there. My truths have got me there. Mm-hmm. So how dare you tell me my truths are wrong? Mm-hmm. I'm just going to continue because I've had some success. But I would argue, have we? Have we had that success? Because we have things, but we don't have experiences. We don't have new opinions. And, one of the things I've always sworn to myself is I will never quit learning. Because I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid that when you quit learning, that if I quit learning, I'm as good as I'll ever be. And the minute I say I'm done learning anything, I'm in decline. And part of that is having that. For me, that's one of my personal truths is I always have to be learning. Because I know if I'm not learning, I'm not living up to what I believe, which is that I have to learn to continue to grow. Mm-hmm. And with that means that at times things I believed may not actually be true anymore. Right? And I think that's something to take to heart. Now, if I have an experience, it's harder to change what I believe. But if my belief is based on growing up, what I thought, reading, learning, then yeah, let's talk about it. And I think if we can all, at the end of this episode, look for a truth and find people that don't agree with that truth and sit down and talk to them, have conversations with them, we'll have a much better world.
Oh, yeah.
Think about this whole podcast. What was this based on? Lunch at Who Hut, knowing you and I didn't agree on everything, but thinking that in the middle of these conversations, we could serve people. What if we all do that? What if we all take our truths and go, hey, you don't agree with this truth. Let's talk about it. Why do you feel differently? And not spend all the time trying to convert you to my truth and me to your truth, but say, hey, dude, maybe my truth's like 20% right and you're 80% right. Cool. I'll find in the middle. That's where I'm going to grow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be a beautiful world. And I think that comes back to a lot of the personal development work that we need to do for ourselves.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you said, letting go of the ego, not completely, but being able to quiet the ego, putting the ego in its place, having an open mind, being able to admit when you're wrong, practicing humility. A lot of these things that can be really hard, especially in a society where we value being right? I mean, look at our leaders today. They don't lead by example.
No, they're awful.
There's no compromise.
Yeah, and I don't care what side of the party you're on out there in the community. I think they're all terrible leaders, every one of them.
Yeah.
Every one of them. And I think you're absolutely right. And if you look at it, what do? One is extreme on this side, one's extreme on this side. They each have media channels that are extreme in their beliefs. So literally, if you believe in one group or the other, and then you watch the media that aligns with that group or the other, you're literally being fed half the problem. Mm-hmm. And we're smarter than that. And I think if I do have pain in this whole process, it's that we're letting ourselves down by not questioning more, mm-hmm. by not demanding more question or answers, and just accepting how dumb they really think we are.
Mm-hmm.
That we're just going to believe everything every day and not go, wait a second, this just doesn't make sense. And I kind of, I think I've kind of applied that to my life is, okay, if I believe this, I want to talk to people that don't believe it and see if I'm right. See if there's something I'm supposed to be learning here.
Yeah, I like that.
Why not? What do I have to lose? Right? And I think about what, and if we take that, so we have our personal beliefs. We believe this, but now we're going to put one on the table. Ollie, tell me why you believe differently. What do you have to lose? You may walk away and go, I don't know. I still don't believe all these words. I still like mine. You haven't lost nothing. A little bit of time.
Yeah.
But maybe you learned something. Maybe you made a friend. Maybe you realized, dude, it's kind of fun to hang out with somebody that doesn't believe all the same shit I believe.
Right.
There's a great quote out there, and this is one that I've always, since I've heard it, I can't say always for my life, but, in the last 10 years, I've really tried to live up to, and it says that if everybody around you believes the same thing you believe, you don't need them.
Right.
You already have those beliefs, so why do I need you guys?
Yeah, there's nothing to talk about.
No, so I want people that don't believe what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But they can still have fundamental principles of learning, sharing, being open to exchanging ideas. That's fun. And if we know that life is about experiences and we know we want experiences, why then are we trying to only experience the shit we've already experienced or that we already believe?
Mm-hmm.
Why would we not be going to the other extreme? Are we afraid to be wrong? Is our ego so caught up in being right that we're not willing to learn anymore? And it goes both ways. A lot of these people that are against the cops now and they're wanting to rip down history and stuff, we got to be willing to at least talk about this.
Right.
People that hate other people, that want isolated, guys, we got to come to the middle. And I truly believe there's more of us in the middle than anybody wants to admit.
Oh, yeah.
But people in the middle sit quiet at times because they can get attacked from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
You're not enough of this or you're not enough of that.
Right.
And the middle, I think, is where I would venture to say 3/4 of the population is.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are some truths, that these convenient truths that people just don't want to believe.
Yeah.
Right? Like for me, one of them that I refuse is that, maybe a vegan lifestyle is healthier. I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to give up my beef and my chicken, and truths like that. That's an example. But also like one big example that I've personally been working with is my father and dealing with my brother coming out as a gay man.
Yeah.
And that has challenged the depths of his truth, but he is totally unwilling to accept any new beliefs, because of Islam. And, he's in his 50s, he's lived his life. So sometimes I think it's better. I just had this conversation with him and it's hard to say, but I think where he's at with not being able to accept any truths, any new truths, or try to reaffirm any truths, I truly let him know, like, I think what's best is for you to just not have a relationship with your son, and to move forward. Like, I truly believe that will be best for you if you're not willing to examine things. And sometimes some people may be stuck in their ways forever.
But I listen to that and I think about how much of Amir's life is he going to miss out on?
Mm-hmm.
How much of Amir does he not even know?
Right.
All based on sexual orientation.
Right.
Which in the scheme of the world, this is my belief. It doesn't mean I'm right.
Right.
In the scheme of the world is pretty unimportant.
Mm-hmm.
To miss out on the beauty of another human being, their thoughts, their emotions, their ideas, the joy. What's one of the best things, as a parent, what's one of the most important things or the most fulfilling things is when you see joy in your kids.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to miss all of that. And for how many years? And how much will each moment that he misses, how much regret will that add to the last part of his life? And only because we're not willing to accept that maybe there's another way.
Right. That
And
wild.
you don't even have to agree with it. Like, you don't have to say, this is my way. Okay, I accept Amir's way. I accept this person's way, that person's way.
Mm-hmm.
I can still have my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great example, you know. And for me, we have to, you went back to your vegan stuff, we are trying to do at least like one plant-based meal a week just to try it, especially now that Trey's moving off to college, because he crushes the meat in the house. So I always have to have a lot of meat because I'm curious, right? Because what have I believed about vegetarian diets?
Right.
Not enough protein, hard to maintain muscle mass. A lot of the protein replacements are chemical-based, non-natural ingredient. To me, is a health trade-off. Like, I'd rather have beef than fake meat. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. So
we'll try it. And I can tell you, we've made like spicy bean tacos instead of beef tacos, and they were pretty good. But being willing to learn. And even if I go back and go, nah, I really like meat. At least then my belief, my truth is from my experience, not what everybody else told me.
Right.
And I think that's what we should seek more of, is have your truths based on your experiences. But then still be willing to re-examine. Because what if this year I try and I'm like, I just don't like, I'm staying with meat. But what if in another year they make the most fantastic beef replacement from all natural plant-based ingredients that fits all my needs? But I'm so stuck in my one experience, I'm not willing to try a new one.
Yeah.
And I think we can look at a lot of our lives and see that we are guilty of that.
Oh, yeah.
One experience at one stage in our life determines our beliefs and our truths for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, we carry so much personal history, personal experience, and then solidify these truths, and it can be very, very costly.
And then we surround ourselves with other people that believe exactly what we believe. Like, let's go back to your dad's example. I would venture to say in his circle, he probably doesn't have many openly gay people.
No.
And nobody that he aligns with or that spends his time with accepts that lifestyle.
Exactly.
So he reaffirms his beliefs every day through his circles. What if somebody in there was? Would then his relationship with Amir be completely different?
Right.
Maybe. And that's the danger of only being in those convenient truths.
Right.
Your group has convenient truths. Well, then you're never going to know what you're missing because you're only being fed what you already know, which to me is a waste of life. If I'm only going to know what I already know, why live? What else am I doing?
Yeah, that can be the danger and the potential cost of not being willing to re-examine a truth that you've held. You know, potentially the cost of not having a relationship with your son, a family member. You know, like you said, losing out on some of the most fulfilling experiences that life can bring.
Yeah.
Missing out on a human because you're not willing to re-examine a truth that you've held because it's been so reaffirmed over time, over people, and that's, it can be really dangerous.
Well, and if we wrote down all the things we think we believe, and you wrote down yours, I'm betting I'm betting we would find that probably 3/4 are the same. There's probably a quarter that's different. If your dad and Amir wrote down their fundamental beliefs, because Amir was raised in the same house as you, so fundamentally you're going to have very similar beliefs, and then you're going to have a few that are different. And we're willing to exclude somebody for the few instead of seeing the commonality, all the similarities. And we do that to our world.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Right? If we all stopped for a minute and wrote down what do we believe and then compare it, if we had to carry around our beliefs, right? Be like, hey, dude, let's have lunch. Okay, what do you believe? Oh, yeah, all these are the same. Well, let's talk about these two that are different. That's what you would do.
Yeah.
Because that's where you could learn. But instead, we walk around with our beliefs and we want to not talk to anybody that might look different or might think different because we're so stuck in being right. And
when we can do that, when we can come together and have these conversations, it's so rewarding. It's so fulfilling. And you realize, whoa, we're actually a lot more in common than I thought.
Amen.
Right? We're so similar. And
you feel good.
Yeah, it feels a lot better.
Energy is, how many conversations have you had where you spend the whole time trying to argue that your point is better than their point? And at the end, you feel drained because you just spent all your energy trying to make me be wrong.
You can't win.
No, you don't win.
There's the best way to win an argument is to avoid it.
And even if you do win, you don't feel good.
No.
So then what was it worth? It never feels good to make somebody else wrong.
No.
And you know what I mean? So, but we spend so much time there, and the reality is we're all wrong. All of our truths are wrong. All of our truths are wrong if they're absolute.
Right.
Right? If our belief is absolute, we have no room to learn from somebody else, then I'm going to say we're all wrong. And I've been wrong plenty in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a great time as we're doing all the stuff, you know, I heard a cool thing about Earth, because we have slowed down society so much, the vibrations in Earth are like on more positive wavelengths and increasing every day, which kind of leads to one of our last episodes, enlightenment. Like, are we on the verge of that new era? And if we are, how do you become most enlightened? You admit you don't know all the shit you think you know already.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that's our truths.
Amen.
Ready for some practice for these cats?
Yes, we are. So part 1 of this week's Purposeful practice is to take inventory of your personal truths and their roots. Where do these personal truths come from? Part 2, are these truths based on your experiences, media influence, or passed down from others? So kind of add in a part 1 there. And then most importantly, email us your practice to onpurpose.official@gmail.com and make that practice an absolute truth with that email.
Very cool. I appreciate you, my friend. I love being back with you. Congrats on your victory again. Congrats on a Mexico vacation. Now it's time to get back to delivering our purpose.
Let's do it. Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, team, as we wrap up another episode of the On Purpose podcast, we are thankful for having you all on our journey. We want to announce new ways to include you and let you go deeper into our community. First off, we got the onpurposepodcast.com website where you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, get inside tips, and see what's coming up in the upcoming months, as well as our new launch is our Patreon account. We have 5 tiers where you can decide at what level you want to contribute to the podcast and the community, help support us, continue to push us forward and grow. And it's as little as 50 cents an episode or $2 a month, all the way up to $50 a month, depending on where you want to be. Perks of this are sneak peek episodes. You get the episodes quicker. You get to contribute on episodes. You get monthly Q&As with Ali and I and special guests. And you get to be a building block for our community as we continue to grow worldwide. With the release of Shelly Davies' episode, we are now international, and we're excited for where the future leads us. So please fit in with us wherever you are comfortable, and remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We'll see you next week.